So between the attacks on Hebron and the preparations on the border, what can we expect from the seemingly building powder keg? Joining us to answer is founder and president of the Jerusalem Washington Center, Gideon Israel. Gideon, thank you so much for joining us. Now, reportedly, the IDF is also making alternate plans just in case there aren't actually any riots. Do you think that there's a chance of that the response is blowing up in our head more than it is in reality?
Well, the Palestinian Authority and the media that it runs always is trying to be mesית against Israel, to incite against Israel, and therefore it's always on a low flame. And when the Palestinian Authority wants there to be riots, then it rises the flames of incitement and incites more against Israel. So we can get an indication of how things will be if we look at what's going on in their media.
I see. And so now let's move a little bit to the Yesha Council head now, the heads of the Yesha Council in the settlements. Now, they're still fighting against the annexation plans. They're saying that, first of all, that there are a number of issues that they feel are not being addressed appropriately, and also that they don't understand why the plans are being rushed within about a month's time, where this is arguably one of the most important decisions that Israel has made in decades. Why do you think Israel is pushing, this schedule? Well,
there are three points of disagreement. First of all, the first point is that that according to the maps, even though we haven't seen them yet, there are a certain amount of settlements which will be under Palestinian control, and therefore Israel won't be able to expand those settlements. They'll only be able to build up on those settlements. So there's a worry about what will be with those settlements. Another point of disagreement is that Netanyahu says we need to take what we can get, and the Judean Samaria Council says we cannot agree in principle to a Palestinian state. And the third thing is, even if we're gonna agree in principle to a Palestinian state, why are we only applying sovereignty to 30%? Under the Oslo Accords, 60% were under Israeli control. So those are the 3 points of disagreement.
All right. Now, Jordanian King Abdullah II, we mentioned this earlier, he's now blocking calls over the annexation plans with Netanyahu, and he's also avoiding the requested meetings with Benny Gantz in terms of security coordinations. What do you make of that?
Well, when I worked with Benny Alon of blessed memory about 12 years ago, he always said that in private conversations, the last thing that the Jordanian government wants is a Palestinian state, because they know it would spill over into Jordan and try to overthrow the Hashemite kingdom. So he would always say that most of what the Jordanian government does against Israel in Judea and Samaria is more of a media stunt and not really what they're saying behind closed doors.
So you're not terribly worried necessarily about the rhetoric that's in public?
Well, no, I think Jordan needs Israel much more than Israel needs Jordan.
I see. All right, now I want to move on a little bit more to internal politics right now, because co-Prime Minister and Defense Minister Benny Gantz visited the Justice Ministry recently, and that's causing issues between his blue and white party and the Likud. The Likud is retaliating, so to speak, by threatening to cancel support for the Norwegian law, which Blue and White needs to increase its membership in the Knesset. Is this a sign of the deterioration or the beginning of the end of this unity?
Well, it could be. I think since the government has been formed, we've always seen different polls that show that would there be another round of elections, the Likud would get 40 seats or something close to that, and there would be even a right-wing coalition without the Blue and White Party, and the Blue and White Party would go down to something like 12 seats. So we've been hearing, we don't know if these polls are coming from the Netanyahu government, but we've been hearing since the government has been established that what would happen if we went to another round of elections. However, there also have been articles and people talking about that the blue and white ministers have been talking against Netanyahu in public interviews and saying we don't believe anything he says anyway, and he has also been disappointed with the way the government's been functioning now. So we're at the beginning, but who knows if the Israeli populace has the appetite for another round of elections.
All right, well, I think for most Israelis, they kind of are very exhausted by the elections as well. Gideon Israel, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.